Chapter 21. Rest and Recreation. Monica carried Max all the way to Dr. Dell's clinic, situated beside the quiet pond in Palm Brinks Park. By the time she reached it, her arms and shoulders ached from the weight of him, and every step seemed to remind her of the battle they'd barely survived. Still, she did not slow down, not until Max was safely inside. The clinic was calm compared with the chaos of the mines. Sunlight filtered through the windows, soft and warm, reflecting off polished glass bottles, medical instruments, and neatly arranged shelves of remedies. The peacefulness of it almost felt unreal after the smoke, sparks, and violence of Flotsam's attack. Monica gently lowered Max onto the patient's bed, careful not to jostle him. He stirred faintly, but did not wake. His face looked pale, his breathing heavy with exhaustion, yet steady enough to keep her from panicking outright. Dr. Dell moved in at once, his manner professional but visibly concerned. Monica stepped back, though every instinct in her urged her to stay close. She watched as the doctor checked Max over, examining him for wounds, broken bones, burns, or any sign that Flotsam's attack had done lasting damage. After a short but careful assessment, Dr. Dell let out a breath. Max was not dying. He was not seriously injured. He was simply exhausted. Dangerously so, but exhausted all the same. The combination of fighting through the mines, facing powerful monsters, and enduring Flotsam's assault had pushed him far beyond what his body could handle. Dr. Dell's expression hardened. "This is the mayor's doing, then?" Dr. Dell could not hide his indignation. "Utterly irresponsible," he declared. The doctor glanced from Max to Monica, his disapproval sharpening with every passing second. Those mines were sealed for valid reasons. Mayor Need ought to assemble a team from Heimrada for a thorough excavation, not send 2 children into such peril. Monica could not disagree with him. The more she thought about it, the more reckless the entire situation seemed. Max had been sent into abandoned, monster-infested mines to find precious ore for the town's railway project, and without proper support. If Monica had not reached him in time, the mayor's decision might have cost Max his life. Again. But Monica's anger could wait. Right now, only one thing mattered. "Will Max be okay, Doctor?" Dr. Dell's expression softened. He gave her a reassuring nod. "Max just needs plenty of rest to make a full recovery. You should get some rest too, Monica. Do you have somewhere to stay while he recovers?" Monica hesitated. The question, simple as it was, struck deeper than she expected. She had crossed into Max's time with no home, no title, no family waiting for her, and no official place in this world. To Max, she was his companion, returned through time. To everyone else, she was practically a stranger. Her shoulders sank slightly. "Not really, no. I don't have anywhere to go." The admission left a bitter taste in her mouth. She had once been a princess, then a queen, burdened with castles, servants, guards, and endless rooms. She had never truly felt free inside. Now she had escaped all of that, and yet now she owned nothing, not even a bed for the night. Dr. Dell seemed to understand more than she said aloud. He did not press her for details, nor did he make her feel foolish for having nowhere to stay. Instead, he offered her the large couch normally reserved for waiting patients, telling her she was welcome to rest there while Max recovered. For once, Monica accepted help without arguing. After everything she had endured, The journey through time, the terror of returning to the mines, the battle with Flotsam, and the desperate act of saving Max from his destined death. Her body was finally beginning to protest. The strength that had carried her this far was fading, replaced by a bone-deep tiredness she could no longer ignore. She settled onto the couch, though her eyes kept drifting back towards Max. He looked so young like this, so still. Nothing like the brave, stubborn inventor who charged into danger with a hammer in his hands and a grin on his face. Seeing him unconscious made her chest tighten, but Dr. Dell's words remained steady in her mind. Max just needed rest, that was all. Monica allowed herself to breathe. Once Max recovered, they would finish what they had started. They would return to the mines, obtain the Zelmite ore, and help restore the Blackstone Railroad. After that, perhaps, she could finally begin to think about herself. About the freedom she had sacrificed everything to claim. A life without royal duties, a future without forced marriage, a path of her own choosing. For the first time in what felt like forever, that future seemed possible. As she began to drift towards sleep, however, her thoughts returned to a darker question. Should she tell Max? Should she tell him that he had been meant to die in that break room? The secret weighed heavily on her. Part of her believed he deserved to know. Max had a right to understand what she had risked and why she had come back. Yet, the more she thought about it, the more dangerous the truth seemed. If Max knew his life had already been cut short once, would he still be able to move forward? Would he hesitate in battle? Would fear take root where courage had once been? Worse still, could the knowledge itself alter his choices in ways neither of them could predict? Monica turned slightly on the couch, staring across the quiet clinic at the bed where Max slept. She hated keeping secrets from him. After all they had been through, deception felt like a betrayal, but telling him might burden him with a fate he should never have to carry. No, for now she would keep the truth to herself. Max's courage had helped save the world once before. She would not be the one to break it. Yet the battle in the mines had taught her something important. They could not simply charge back in and hope determination would be enough. The monsters were stronger than expected. The tunnels were unstable. Flotsam had spoken of a new master, someone powerful enough to rebuild him and send him back for revenge. Whoever this mysterious boss was, they would not be easily defeated. They needed a plan. A proper one. They needed to account for the dangers in the mine, the strength of the creatures within, the blocked passages, the Zelmite door, and whatever enemy waited beyond Flotsam's warning. Max was clever, resourceful, and brave. Monica was experienced, determined, and now armed with knowledge of what had already gone wrong once before. Together, they could overcome this, just as they had overcome Griffin. With that thought holding back the worst of her fears, Monica finally allowed her eyes to close. The clinic was quiet, Max was safe, and for the first time since arriving in this era, she let herself rest. The next morning, Max awoke in Dr. Dell's clinic, blinking against the soft daylight spilling through the windows. For a few confused moments, he could not remember how he had got there. The last thing he recalled was the mine, the second break room, Flotsam's defeat, the giant metal door leading towards the Zelmite, and then the sudden heaviness in his limbs as his strength gave out beneath him. He pushed himself up slightly, wincing as exhaustion dragged at his body. His muscles felt sore and his head was thick with sleep, but he was alive, safe. Resting beneath a clean blanket in Dr. Dell's clinic, rather than lying somewhere deep in the mines. Monica? The answer came to him almost immediately. She must have carried him here after he collapsed. Max glanced around the room, expecting to see her nearby. But Monica was not there. Instead, his eyes settled on the small table beside the patient's bed. Waiting, there was a handwritten note addressed to him, placed carefully beside a freshly made potato pie and a glass of water. His expression softened. Potato pie was his favourite. The sight of it brought a warmth to his chest that had nothing to do with the morning sun. For a moment, it carried him back to memories of his mother, her cooking, her kindness, and the comfort of familiar food after a long day. Monica must have remembered him mentioning it once. The fact that she had gone to the trouble of making it for him after everything that had happened made his throat tighten slightly. He reached for the note and unfolded it. It read, "Max, I hope this note finds you in a moment of peace and beginning recovery. It is hard to express how relieved I am to have been able to bring you to the clinic in time. Your health and well-being have been my utmost concern since the incident, and I hope you start feeling better soon. In a small attempt to bring some comfort and aid in your recovery, I've prepared a potato pie for you. I remember you mentioning once how much you enjoy it, and I hope it brings a bit of warmth and nostalgia, even a smile. Alongside, I have left some water to help you stay hydrated and refreshed. Once you are feeling up to it, I need to speak with you. It is crucial that we discuss our next steps, especially regarding securing the Zelmite ore. Our future actions need to be carefully planned and executed with precision. I believe together we will be able to overcome the challenges that lie ahead. Please rest well and regain your strength. Our journey is far from over, and we need all the energy and resilience we can muster. Looking forward to our discussion and, more so, to seeing you back on your feet. With all my best wishes for your speedy recovery. Monica." Max read the note twice. There was something different in Monica's words. She was still herself, brave, determined, and unable to sit still for long. But there was a seriousness beneath the warmth. She was thinking ahead, not just rushing into danger. Whatever had happened in the mines had shaken her more than she wanted to admit. After taking a few bites of the potato pie and drinking some water, Max looked towards the clinic window. Outside, near the edge of the pond in Palm Brinks Park, Monica was training. She stood by the small boat moored close to the water, her sword in hand, the morning light catching along the blade each time it moved. For a few seconds, Max simply watched her. Between their battles with monsters and the danger still waiting in the mines, Monica had found a rare pocket of calm, and she was using it to sharpen herself. Her focus was absolute. She began with simple movements at first, controlled slashes, careful footwork, measured turns of the wrist. Each strike had purpose behind it. There was nothing wasteful in the way she moved. Then gradually, the routine became faster and more elaborate. Basic cuts flowed into angled strikes. Angled strikes became swift thrusts. Her blade moved in graceful arcs, leaving faint trails of reflected light in the air as though the morning itself were trying to follow her rhythm. Max could see the discipline behind it. This was not showing off. even if it looked impressive. This was a necessity. During her time as queen, Monica had been trapped beneath endless responsibilities, ceremonies, meetings, and royal expectations. Her daily training had suffered because of it. She had admitted as much in the mines, and the truth had become painfully obvious during their battles. She was still skilled, incredibly so, but she had felt the difference. She had felt the cost of being kept away from the life she actually wanted. Now she was free from the crown, and Monica was determined never to feel weakened by it again. Her routine intensified. She moved from attack into defense, raising her sword into clean blocks before pivoting into sharp parries. Each motion blended into the next with practiced precision. When she ducked, rolled, and came back up with her blade ready, the movement was so smooth, it looked less like exercise and more like a dance. Then came the acrobatics. Monica flipped backwards, landing lightly on her feet before turning into another slash. She rolled beneath an imagined strike, sprang upright, and spun into a guarded stance. There was elegance in it, but also power. A fierce reminder that her grace was not decorative. It was dangerous. By now, she had drawn a crowd. Several residents of Palm Brinks had gathered at a respectful distance, watching with open admiration. Some had stopped on their morning walks. Others had come from nearby shops or houses, drawn by the flashing movement of her sword and the murmurs of those already watching. Children stared wide-eyed, while a few adults exchanged impressed glances. Monica's training soon became a display the townspeople could not look away from. To them, she was not merely Max's mysterious companion from another time. She was the girl who had vanished without warning, the adventurer who had once helped save their future, and now, apparently, someone who had returned for good. Her presence carried excitement, curiosity, and a certain relief. When Monica finished her routine with one final sweeping cut, she held her stance for a moment, breathing steadily. Then the crowd applauded. Max smiled to himself, pushed the blanket aside, and carefully got to his feet. His body still complained, but the rest had done him good. He left the clinic and made his way down towards the pond, following the sound of applause. Monica lowered her sword and turned towards the gathered townspeople. A little embarrassed, but pleased, she gave them a graceful bow. The people of Palm Brinks greeted her warmly. Some called out how Max spoke about her when he returned from his adventure. Monica's expression softened. As Max approached, Monica turned towards him, her eyes meeting his across the small gathering by the pond. For a moment, neither of them said anything. Then her expression softened. With a tender smile, she closed the distance between them and wrapped her arms around him in a heartfelt embrace. Max stiffened slightly in surprise. Monica had always been bold and expressive, but there was something different about her now. Something more open, more protective, almost as though she were afraid he might vanish if she let go too quickly. He had no idea just how close he had come to dying. He did not know that Monica had thrown herself between him and Flotsam's final attack, changing history in the space of a single, desperate heartbeat. To Max, she was simply relieved to see him awake and moving again. To Monica, he was alive because she had refused to lose him. She held him a moment longer before gently pulling back, her hands resting lightly on his shoulders. "How are you feeling, Max?" Monica inquired, relief evident in her eyes as she saw Max regaining his strength. Max gave her a tired but genuine smile. "I'm feeling a lot better," Max responded gratefully. "Thank you for getting us out of the mines. I underestimated the challenges we would face in there. Those monsters were tougher than I anticipated." Monica's smile faded into something more serious. She had been waiting for the right moment to speak with him, and now that he was awake and clear-headed, she could not avoid it any longer. "That's exactly what I wanted to discuss with you. Venturing into the mines alone was reckless. Without me by your side, the danger was far greater than you realized." Her tone was firm, but not cruel. This was not an accusation. It was concern sharpened by fear. Fear she had already lived through once and refused to experience again. Max lowered his gaze for a moment. He could not argue with her. The truth of it still ached in his bones. "I won't deny it, Monica. After the confrontation with Griffin, I felt like I was invincible. It blinded me to the reality that without you by my side, I lacked the crucial support and protection we offer each other in battle." Monica nodded, relieved that he understood. Max's courage was one of the things she admired most about him, but courage without preparation could become dangerous. The mines had made that painfully clear. She explained her decision carefully. They would not return to the Zelmite mines immediately. Not today and not tomorrow. Charging back into those depths while Max was still recovering and their equipment remained unchanged would be foolish. The monsters were stronger than expected, the tunnels were unstable, and Flotsam's warning about a new boss could not be ignored. They needed time, 1 or 2 weeks at least. During that time, Monica would focus on rebuilding her own strength. She intended to train every day, refining her swordsmanship until her movements were sharper, faster, and more reliable than they had been in the mines. She would also practice her magic, strengthening her control and making sure she could support Max more effectively in battle. Her time as queen had dulled parts of her routine, and she refused to allow royal confinement to cost her anything ever again. Max, meanwhile, would concentrate on preparation of his own. He could craft stronger weapons, improve his tools, and work with Cedric to enhance the ride pod in the workshop. Better armor, improved parts, stronger attacks, and anything that might give them an advantage when they returned to the lower reaches of the mine. Together, they would turn their setback into preparation. This time, they would not simply rely on bravery. They would plan. They would train. And when they returned to the mines, they would be ready for whatever waited beyond that giant door. The townspeople, who had been listening nearby, began to step forward one by one. Their support came not in grand speeches, but in practical offerings. Some brought food and preserved supplies for the next expedition. Others offered restorative items, spare materials, old tools, mechanical parts, and anything that might help Max repair or improve the ride pod. It soon became clear that this was not only Max's and Monica's mission. Palm Brinks wanted the railway restored. The people wanted to see beyond the town's walls, to travel, trade, and discover the wider world. The Blackstone Railroad was more than a construction project to them. It was a promise of movement, growth, and a future that stretched farther than the streets they had always known. Monica watched the donations pile up with quiet amazement. She had once known the loneliness of ruling from above, surrounded by nobles who argued over power and bloodlines. Here, in this small town, she saw something far more meaningful. Ordinary people helping one another because they believed in a shared future. It strengthened her resolve. Max seemed moved as well. He looked at the supplies, then at Monica, and finally gave a firm nod. The plan was settled. They would rest, prepare, and return stronger. Max held out his hand. Monica took it without hesitation, and they sealed their agreement with a firm handshake. "It's reassuring to have you by my side again, Monica," Max expressed, his voice resonating with determination. Monica's expression warmed. For so long she had felt caught between worlds, born into one life, pulled into another, and never entirely certain where she belonged. But standing there beside Max, with palm brinks around her, and the future waiting ahead, the answer finally felt clear. "I'm grateful to be back as well," Monica replied warmly. "This time feels like home, where I truly belong."